Friday night on Twitch. It is a Friday night, almost 6:30 Central Standard Time. That means it is time for Pursuing Your Passion, which is all about reviews here on Green Oaks Gaming. I am Joe. With me is Tammy. Now we've got the camera set up really kind of funky just because we want to talk about a set product for tonight that we really want to give some screen time to.
And I'm trying to hide from the camera.
Yeah, Tammy does not like being on camera, but she's the reason. So we are going to make sure that she stays on camera.
Jerk.
So you can see on the big screen there behind me, bear with me, I am going to just open up the chat here, and just so we can see if we've got any chats going on. And that way we don't miss any comments. So if you have any comments and want to pop them in chat, please feel free. So on the big screen here you can see Bones 6 core set. So Reaper miniatures. You see me paint with Reaper miniatures. You see me use Reaper miniatures paints, brushes, and miniatures. Again, they are not a supporter or a backer, or what's the word I'm looking for? A sponsor. They do not sponsor Green Oaks Gaming. So when I talk about Reaper and give them whether it's good or bad, it's not because I'm paid to do so. So as I talk about products, most of the ones I'm going to give you honest feedback, and Reaper for the miniatures is one that I've really had a lot of great success with. So as Reaper has been doing Kickstarters for miniatures and miniature hobby componentry or supplies, I have had the fortune to be able to be a backer for some of their Kickstarters. So with that in mind, I am a backer for Bones 6. You do see my website up there, greenoaksrpgaids@gmail.com, because I am a backer. Again, I would not back something if I didn't have faith in it. So just to set the scene, I suppose.
I think that's a good start, setting the scene. I think that something else to kind of throw out there is this is their 6th, obviously with the Bones 6. And I think it'd be good to talk about the background of some of the other ones that you've seen before we really dig into what we saw this year with Bones 6, because there was a lot of mixed reaction.
Yeah, a lot of mixed reaction, especially if you look at any of the online communities, whether it be Facebook or their Twitters or their Twitch or Discords. So previous Kickstarters started with a core set. So it was a number of minis that, based on the level of pledge, you could increase with unlocks. The more the Kickstarter made, the more unlocks the map led to. And that has been the process for them for the Kickstarter since. Now, with the current, or I suppose previous Kickstarters, there has been a huge aspect of core set being unique, mostly unique miniatures. Some of them were updates from previous sculpts that were in metal or bones material, but the big goal was getting a large amount of miniatures created in plastic at a great value. In addition to that, there are expansions that they would do that would be sometimes a large sculpt, like a dragon turtle or a Cthulhu monster. With Bones 5, it was a pirate ship. With Bones 4 was the dragon turtle. There have been cloud giants, storm giants, dragons galore. My large dragons that I paint, almost all of them are Reaper bones from Kickstarters. So there are also encounters where it's a bit of terrain and some specialty figures that tell a story, you might say. So the early Kickstarters started in the original Bones material, and then as they've developed their materials to be better for miniatures, so able to hold detail better, less bendy, a lot more adaptable to painting. Each Kickstarter has shown those improvements, so as we get further and further along the Kickstarter numbers, from 1 to 6 now, there's been a massive improvement in the quality of the materials they're using to do the miniatures as well. So that's another aspect.
So just to kind of give a little bit of a breakdown, the original Bones, the very first one, was August 25th, 2012. Their original Kickstarter amount that they were looking for a pledge was $30,000. That one ended up making $3,429,235. Bones 2, and that was the 84th highest ranking Kickstarter ever
to that point. So
going up to number 90 was Bones 2. That one was October 26th, 2013. Again, their starting amount was $30,000. And on this one, they made $3,169,610, which, and these are some insane numbers. Bear with me while I'm scrolling through so I can get to the next one. There again, those were the very first two that they did. And I don't know how up to date this is as to whether it has the newest ones in there. So bear with me a little bit.
Probably not the newest because the Kickstarter just closed, so they're still compiling data. Once the Kickstarter closes, it takes about 2 weeks for them to go through and do all the processing of the backers, verify funds, all of that. They leave it open for a week, basically, as they're attempting to close out all of the backers' pledges.
Right.
So it's doubtful that the most current one is going to be on the records yet. Most likely it'll be another week before it actually hits the actual stats.
Yep, I'm just looking to see if I can find where they fall in the rankings, and that one just goes to the 202nd. But progressively every year it's been a little bit different. The amount made is different, the number of backers are different.
I would say the theme is different too. So last year for Bones 5, or 2 years ago I suppose now, maybe, I don't know. For Bones 5, the theme was really pirate themed, so the primary crux was very focused on pirate and water encounters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not all of it by any means, not by a long stretch actually, but very focused on...
The core story was...
Yeah, very focused on Brinewind, which is the Dungeon Dweller RPG setting that they have for pirates. It's a pirate area in the DDRPG world.
Yeah, the best of my understanding is the reason behind these Kickstarters is for them to raise the money to be able to add new miniatures, new groupings, whatnot.
New paints, new supplies.
To their assortment.
Correct.
The side benefit, in my opinion, is not only do you get new things and like some really cool ideas, but man, you get them cheap.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good setup. Let's start diving into Bones 6 and give honest reactions of what we thought of Bones 6. Because again, online there's lots of mixed sentiments from backers and from non-backers as well. So having been through Bones 5 and really blown away with the amount in Bones 5 as well as the quality. Again, the quality has been continuing to improve.
Absolutely.
Now moving into Bones 6, the core set, we're going to start there. And I have all of the numbers for all of them, but we're going to focus mostly for the number aspect on the core set. So you can see here the core set was set at $125. And we're just going to pop in, maybe, to the details I had hoped. Maybe not. Let's see. Maybe if we click over here. Let's look at that core set.
I wonder if it's going to be easier to go into the maps.
Possibly.
That front page.
Well, earlier I was able to click on the item and then scroll through the images, and they had them there.
Gotcha.
I promise I attempted to do this to make sure it worked.
I would put that down to our occasional challenges with our internet here.
I wouldn't. We've been going pretty good. Let's try this here. Let's go just to Kickstarter. And here we go with the Pledge Manager website. So I'm not logged into this one. Let me try. Well, no, I won't have to log in because all of the details will be here. So you can see this one here, Green Griffin, Tales from the Green Griffin. So the Green Griffin is an inn. It's basically the Yawning Portal. So you can see the map here is where it all started. So I'm going to adjust the camera here a little bit just so we can make sure we get good viewability of this. So it started here. They needed to hit 30,000 to unlock the core set. That was the initial goal, was let's raise 30,000 and the core set will be unlocked. And then they had stretch goals in here. And these stretch goals would unlock additional aspects. And you can see here on one of them in the near the center, 155,000 to unlock Sullenhall 1/5. So that was a little bit of a change. Previously they had broken the expansions out into thirds, but the variances to get from 1 to 2 to 3 were higher.
Right.
So these ones they set narrower goals, but more pieces. So the way they equated it was it's still the same size of cake, but the slices are thinner.
So I will say one thing as before you go like super far in there is it says the core set's unlocked, but initially that core set started out with about 30 pieces, right?
Right. And let's see. So here's one of the aspects. We'll get it near the center. So near the center you can see 240k unlocks Ant Infestation. So ones like that where they are not aspects of the 1/5 things, those are added into your core set. So when you hit that 250k, you get the Ant Infestation added to your core set. So your core set continues to grow in size
As
you
goals are hit.
right unlock those goals. So you can see there we're on the second map, there we're on the third map. You can see all these ones in greens are ones that were unlocked, amounts that were raised for this 30th anniversary. Dragon was the last goal on that map, which you'll see images of it here shortly, but you can see all the way here to where they got to.
And they were really close on that storm giant.
Yeah, very, very close. So as a dive in now, we're going to dive in. So the core set for $125 after the Kickstarter closed with all of the add-ins and everything, each of these minis is going to end up costing $1.10.
I would show them the bigger picture and then go back up and let them look at the little bit. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Just scroll through and let them see how many there are there.
Yeah, that was my plan.
And then go back up and
well, I don't know
focus
that we'll do many of the close-ups, but $1.10 for each miniature.
Which is
$1.10 per miniature. Now the crazy part is you can see here there is an adventuring party, There's a dwarf, there's some gnomes, there is a lich or a death knight on a throne, which is a fairly big piece. There is a bog shambler, which I would equate to a shambling mound. That sucker is on a large base, so a good sized mini. And you can see some of these add-ins in here are pretty big
Massive.
in size. So $1.10 for a shambling mound miniature. The base is going to be 2 inches, so probably close to 3.5 inches tall. That's a big miniature.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got a halfling riding a gold dragon wormling. I mean, just look at the number of miniatures that are in this core set. So here's where you start getting some of those additional unlocks where town guards were added, dawn seekers were added. There's your ant infestation. You can see it's got a number of ants on a 1 inch. So these would be giant ants on a 1 inch base, and a queen ant with wings on a 2 inch base. Beautiful Sophies, which is their mascot, a succubus Sophie. There are some pirates, some mudmen, so some elemental aspects. Look at that nightmare. Really awesome.
And that one's on a 3-inch base?
On a 3 inch base, correct.
So it's a massive.
And actually what I may do here is we'll zoom this in a little bit bigger. I don't know how big I'm going to be able to go, but we will try to make this as big as possible, just so you can see some good details on this. These miniatures are very good. Those mongrel men I'm really excited about. You've got a werebear, another large one. That's also on a large 2 inch base. You've got some extra bases. You've got wolves and rog, or a warg. You've got that Happy Easter was just when it came Easter Day. They threw in this owl bear hatching and this, I hate to say jackalope because it's got a unicorn horn, but it's a rabbit with a unicorn horn.
Yeah.
This is not a beholder, it's a drift lurker. So it doesn't have the eye stalks, it's got horns, but it's a friggin'
awesome
cool
sculpt too. We got to see some of these in person.
Yeah, we got to see the actual finished products as well as some of the greens for the Kickstarter party. Lard Gulp is this 2-headed troll. Amazing sculpt. Absolutely amazing. Now, things like Lard Gulp are brand new. They have never been sculpted before. So this is the first time they're going to hit the market. You've got Fire Newts. You've got these dwarves of Kragmar. Dawn Seekers, which is another like adventuring party. This bee person on this giant bee. You've got these Raptorkin, which are Eric Okras. Oxidation Beast, a new sculpt of their previous one. So they used to have an Oxidation Beast, which really is a rust monster. But this is a brand new sculpt of that figure.
Yeah, and it's actually a little bit bigger and a lot more detailed.
Yeah, very much so. The Barbarian Prince, this was a new one. So this takes on the Pathfinder aspect of the tiered heroes, to where you have basically a 1st level barbarian, 5th level barbarian, and a 10th level barbarian. So Barbarian Prince, Barbarian Conqueror, Barbarian King. And then a Merilith. So a lot of cool sculpts. Now all of those are in the Kickstarter for $125, or in the core set for $125, so it equates to $1.10 per mini.
And I can tell you, I believe their starting point is right at $3.99.
Yeah, starting
in that
point.
Area.
Starting point for a Bones miniature is $3.99 and up.
So you are getting these at an incredible discount.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. But for the core set, I've already talked about some of my favorite pieces. Do you want to go over some of?
So I'm a little bit different. I mean, I definitely follow different lines than you. I love the gnomes. To me, those are just fun as can be. I definitely like Roderick and Glitter. Definitely like the Amisha. Those
Yeah.
are some of my biggest ones out of this one.
So Amisha is not a tiefling. It's oh, what do they call them?
I don't remember.
Oh my gosh, it was
But
just
she's
there. It was just
super
there.
cool looking.
Hellborn.
Yeah.
That's what they call them, Hellborn.
Yes.
But
yes.
a tiefling. It's a tiefling if you're a D&D player.
But
beautiful
she's-
sculpt. Look at
yes.
her. Just flowy. So dynamic, too. That's one of the aspects that I really love about Reaper, is they're not all just stagnant. I mean, look at that Erlyn, the way she's flowing and moving. That's the figure right below. Now moving up right beside that way. Just a beautiful, beautiful sculpts.
Zombies, great for speed paints, I would imagine.
Speed paints, and if you're doing anything like paint and takes, if you're doing classes and courses on how to paint, or you're just trying to get people around the table to paint, things like zombies you just can't go wrong with. For two reasons. One, you get a huge quantity of them, but two, if people aren't skilled painters, or they're new, or they're nervous, anything like that, you can't mess up a zombie. If it's got an eye that's offset from the other eye, it's a zombie. It doesn't matter. If it looks sloppy, it doesn't matter. It's a zombie, for Pete's sake. So
It's gonna look sloppy.
yeah, it's things like that are great for aspects like that.
Love the Sophies. That would be my next great big one on this. Is I am a huge fan of the Sophies.
And there are 4 Sophies. So these are also resculpts of previously launched Sophies. So there's the other 2, the Gravestone and the Adventure Sophie. 4 Sophies in here.
The best part about that is when they go back in and do the resculpts, they're really fine-tuning what is already a pretty great miniature.
Absolutely. We talked to...
I like the Drift Lurker, too.
Yeah, the Drift Lurker I think is great.
Just really a good sculpt.
Yeah. The Aarakocras or Raptorkin, those ones are also just really well sculpted. I mean, I got to see those greens, and I was just blown away with the amount of detail they were put in. That's my love and curse all in one, because I love the details. I hate painting it.
Now, so you're going to find that there are some of these that really go to what Joe loves to do, and the miniatures Joe loves. And then there's a few things in here that really appeal to me as more of a general type of painter. So I may not have a ton to say about the core set. I think it's an incredible value.
And there are a couple of pieces that...
And there are a couple of pieces that I really like. My personal choice was not to go with the core set for myself, just because I don't know when I would paint all of those.
And for me, as a forever GM, finding miniatures, one, that I can use for my players, because for my campaigns, I always provide my players with a miniature that they can use on the table so they don't have to purchase their own, though they're most welcome to, and then they can keep the miniature that I paint for them. But for when I'm GMing, I want to have miniatures for the villains so that they can use some of their tactics and organize for things like getting advantage for flanking, or checking out ranges for spells and attacks, things like that.
That visual enhances.
Absolutely. Helps with immersion and really drives them into the game even further. So for me, this aspect, you can see that theme of dungeon delving. So it really fit the theme. And for someone like me, who is a forever GM and can never have enough miniatures, I thought it was really, really good. Expansion sets.
This is where we get into some of the very varied items.
Yes. So again, you'll see a little bit of a theme in that dungeoning aspect. Very different from the pirate aspect of the previous Bones 5. So the first one is Green Griffin expansion. So again, Green Griffin is their tavern. You can see here, this one here was $50 for this entire expansion. The sculpts, you'll see lots and lots of terrain.
Yes.
There are bar patrons. There are ghosts that haunt.
I love the ghost.
The Green Griffin. Terrain. Another ghost. Another server. beds for the weary adventurers, your barkeep, servers, drunks.
And those drunks are actually in a sitting position.
So you can use them on the chairs.
Yeah, you can use them a lot of different places.
Or on the bed.
Which is very cool.
Or on the bar. And you can see like that, the banquet items are really cool. Really cool. There is the bar. So all of this to decorate up and set a scene for a bar. For your own green griffin. So aspect-wise, for this one here, again, I love that Greyhawk. So that is a kitten-sized griffin. It's a young griffin. Things like that. Just real cool details that they're adding in for story element and aspect out of the Dungeon Dwellers RPG. So really pretty cool. Same with the ghosts. They've all got information in their own games. So these are aspects.
That ghost is absolutely my favorite part of that.
That Dariana?
Yes, yes.
So Green Griffin, $50 to buy this expansion set. Now I do not have in front of me, I suppose I can pull the amount. Let's see what the Green Griffin costs per miniature. Let's pull that up here real quick. We are looking at $1.28 per miniature. $1.28 per miniature.
So there again, you're in that amazing space, especially when you look at some of those terrain pieces, which tend to be bigger, tend to be a little more costly. And the flip side of it is you don't have to make it a bar. You can make it into a shop. You could make it into
an inn. Yeah, all kinds of things.
So when you're looking at it from that aspect, it's a pretty great deal.
So let's give the thoughts. What's your thoughts on it? Or do you want me to go first?
So Green Griffin, I am sort of 50-50 on. I really love the terrain pieces of it. For me, those would be the part that I like the most. The miniatures, I'm kind of, I can give or take them. What it'll come down to for me in the end is, are those terrain pieces, to me, worth that $50 spend? And knowing that we paid, $30 for a crypt, that's probably a pretty good spend.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. So for me, I was actually 30-70 against Green Griffin for myself. And the reason for it is because most of the GMing that I do, I have to travel. So transporting the components is a logistical nightmare. I would love to be able to set up, so I have my own inn that I constantly use. It's an inn and tavern. It's the Green Oaks Inn. I would love to be able to build it with this terrain. I think it's fantastic. I think it's beautiful. I think it's great. But to transport it, to use in-game.
Here's a question, and it's a random question. We'll have some of these odd conversations. But I almost wonder if something like that, where it is bigger to take with you, is that you paint it up, you set it up, and you do some amazing photography. And then you go to Walmart and get it blown up to poster size and use it as a mat.
Yeah, that's actually a good conversation to have.
Dang it.
There again, I think it's a good thing. The challenge for me is when I paint something and utilize it, I want to actually utilize it. So.
But there again, I am the world's best enabler, because here I am, and I do this to people all the time. My thought of, I would buy it, I would paint it, I would sell it.
Yeah, maybe.
And you make your own mat.
Leave a comment down below and let us know what you think on Green Griffin. Should I back Green Griffin? Should I add it? Currently I'm in the pledge calculator, so I have to decide how I'm going to allot my funds before the end of next week or thereabouts. So let me know what you think, just so I can get a good idea. And now that won't lock it in. I will still be able to adjust that in the pledge manager. I'll have some time to do that if I decide. So leave a comment down below, of course, as you follow us as well, and give your thoughts on whether I should add the green Griffin into my Kickstarter choices. $50. Let's see what else $50 can get us.
I like that.
Shadows of Sullenhall.
So I totally know this one is you. And there are pieces of this one that are me.
Yeah. So another $50 expansion. So here again, this is a story piece in many aspects.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the Forlorn Crypt.
Love the crypt.
Beautiful sculpt. Beautiful sculpt. The lid or the roof actually comes off. So the interior is accessible, though I believe it's just plain.
Yeah.
I have not seen it without, so I can't speak for sure, but I believe it's just plain.
I just love the detail of the
stonework and the sculpture, the gargoyle on the front is just gorgeous. You can see in front of there a bunch of skeletons. So for me, I love lower tiered dungeons. So I never, ever have enough skeletons, and I have a hard time spending $3.99 plus on a skeleton when I could spend $3.99 plus on a different sculpt that's got a lot more detail for me to paint and enjoy. So I don't own very many skeletons. I have two.
Well, here's the discussion. We're gonna have everybody commenting on a lot of stuff. Should I get in and back this? Because Joe and I are backing separately, and let him have all my skeletons and keep the other parts I like.
Or do I keep my pledge calculator the way it is with two Sullenhalls in it?
Okay.
That's the conundrum, isn't it? So, yeah, for me, I'll tell you, right now, in one of the campaigns that I'm running, the characters are facing a Draco Lich and 20 skeletons. I have to use markers for the skeletons because I only own 2, and because I only own 2 and they're in metal, I don't take them with me to my game nights.
So part of the reason that I am looking at this is what I'm working on right now. One of the things I'm working on is I have a whole graveyard setup that I'm working on.
A very scenic piece.
Yeah, a very scenic piece, more along the lines of like a diorama. But there's so many bits and pieces in here that the debate for me is, do I make it a really, really cool diorama with multiple crypts and that kind of thing?
So moving on, here was the part 2 that now is added to this expansion. So you can see bone piles, the Necromancer. There's actually a skeleton coming up there under that outstretched hand. The picture does not do it justice. That is a gorgeous sculpt. The flowing of, it's almost like smoke or liquid magic pulling the skeleton up. It's friggin' awesome.
And the shrine is really good too.
Yeah, very, and it's also a big piece.
Yes.
It's also a very big piece. Now these ones are interesting. They're in translucent. So if you're using inks or clears, you can paint them translucent. But wraiths, specters, spirit, fantastic for things like banshees, ghosts, specters, wraiths, the whole 9 yards. These are great. And for the lower ones, you could actually possibly, if you wanted to, even use those for death knights.
Yeah.
So a lot of opportunity to use those in different ways. And again, the sculpts on those are gorgeous. All of these are brand new sculpts.
And
so
they are.
This is the only place you can get these sculpts until after the Kickstarter, when production actually begins, when they go into the assortment, which on some aspects,
not guaranteed on everything.
There are still items out of Bones 3 that are not in their retail. And that's been some years. And then here you go with some more baddies. So these ones you can see a little bit more decorative on the vampires.
I like the Nosferatu.
The Nosferatu looks fantastic. So that's just a render currently Once they get the sculpt complete and tested, they'll add the picture on there. So these will constantly be updated as well. But yeah, fantastic pieces. Those,
and that elder.
yeah, those Death Knights there are really, really cool. If you want to have something in place of like a Lord Soth, fantastic for that. Yeah, that elder there, that makes me think of Bram Stoker's Dracula when he turns into that bat creature. Fantastic. It's a gorgeous sculpt too. And big. That one's actually big. I think that was on a 2-inch base.
Yeah.
More Death Knights, and then a giant skeleton.
And he is big.
Yeah, that one is big. I believe that one is on a
It's on a
3-inch
3.
base. And yeah, a big one. So perfect for like a fire giant skeleton. I thought it was great. So yeah, that's Sullen Hall. Currently, I'm slotted with 2 Sullen Halls. $50, great value, and something that I would use as a gamer.
Do you have the numbers on what that one is?
I do. Let's see. That one, Sullen Hall, you're looking at $1.61 per miniature.
Still, there you are in that less than
Under
half
$2.
price.
Under $2. So yeah, really cool. Now the next one is Briarwood Vale.
And this one I'm all about.
Briarwood Vale. So this is very much their Fey realm, I would say.
Yes, absolutely.
So $50 for the Briarwood Vale expansion. Part 1. Now it starts out with this chopper, slasher, cutter, which are like goblin-looking impish things. I love the sculpts.
We actually got to see most of the stuff in person at the Kickstarter party, and oh my goodness, a lot of this was done by Christine Van Patten, and she is amazing with her sculpts. I mean, they are beautiful, they're detailed, and just so dynamic.
So part 1, you can see where those parts are small, right? They start out with very small amounts, but the goals weren't as aggressive to get to the next part. So you can see those beautiful sylphs, then into will-o-wisps, and then into these kelpies.
And the kelpies are out of this world. I mean, some of the most beautiful sculpts I've seen.
Yeah, the faces on them was amazing, dynamite. So there are some of those bee folk that you saw, the one bee folk on the giant bee in the core set. This is more bee folk. If you want to add something strange and different. Murder Hornet.
And here's some of the...
Now we're getting into some big ones. So the Fungal Queen was a previous sculpt, but this is a new sculpt of the Fungal Queen, which is just absolutely dynamic and gorgeous. Again, a fantastic sculpt. And then the Fungal King, these pictures just don't do it justice. The amount of different types of mushroom and fungi covering these two is just...
Holding them and turning them in your hand, there's so much to look at.
Yeah, the detail is just outstanding. And these ones also, you can see there, the
really
3-inch base, 54 millimeters tall. So that's the similar to the Sophie, yeah.
Which...
yeah, so both big miniatures. And then that arboreal defender, which it looks like they're going to be able to have hollow and have the lower front half separate out.
Such a cool piece.
Yeah, so you can put Tammy had mentioned maybe putting like lights in there or something. I thought about, wouldn't it be cool to have blights in there? And if your characters go up against this Trent, basically, have him spit out all these blights to make the challenge even more difficult. Just very cool sculpt. Yeah. Also big. I don't remember the size of base that one was on, but that's a big
I would
guy.
say that this one overall had a lot of big pieces.
Yeah, very big pieces. The Corette is just a...
he's really cool.
What are those called? The pan flute.
Yeah, and you can see it in his
sculpt,
legs. Right.
A Chorid in D&D is what they're called. But anyhow, now here are some fairies and fairy dragons.
And these little fairy dragons, the big one is amazing. It's huge. Shimmer scale is huge, huge. But these little tiny ones, Dewdrop and Fernberry, and I saw those and I was obsessed with them.
Well, the fairies as well. I thought the fairies, the sculpts on those are just gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Tinkerbell would be jealous.
Yes.
And then Alicorn, which you can see just the render, the image that is still being sculpted, so that image will get updated.
So I gotta say that I was looking to get into this more from the perspective of enabling and what can I get for Joe that he'll really enjoy. And when they brought these out, it was like, okay, so
forget Joe.
I now have to back this. And yeah, I went from thinking, oh, I'll spend $50, $100 on it to I'm gonna get 2 of these at least. So
My Sullen Hull, her Briarwood Vale. So these miniatures are going to come out to about $1.66. So still compared to $3.99 as a starting point, right? That would be for a slasher. $3.99 for slasher there. You're getting all of these for that same price.
And so many of these are large.
When you look at, especially as you get down here into the later parts, that fairy dragon there was, I believe that was actually a 4-inch base.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's massive. So it's like a scale size if you want to have on your desk.
And there again,
a fairy dragon.
The pictures don't do it justice.
Yeah, just an absolutely amazing expansion, I thought.
It's super cool because it's super different. This was going into stuff that it makes sense, but you only see bits and pieces of this. So to have that whole expansion based on it was such a cool idea.
Yeah, if you play with a lot of Fey elements in your game, you can't beat this because there are so many cool and unique things that, I mean, if you think about retail, I'll give you an example. That Fungal King, I would guess, would be easily in plastic, a $30 piece. Easily. If it were metal, if you're looking at metal, you're looking at a $60, $70 piece. So the value alone just on the miniatures is crazy good.
Yeah, this one has inspired me in odd ways because my whole thought behind it is I want to set this up for a different kind of D&D type of adventure using chibis and Fey stuff, just a softer fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tammy's thinking 2 of these. I'm thinking 1 of these just because I love the sculpt so much and I can use them in games.
And this one, bar none to me, this one is beyond worth the price.
Yeah. So, yeah, a great expansion. Next is Denizens of the Dungeon.
And this is another Joe one.
This is very much a me one. So you can see another $50 expansion. But let's look at part 1. You've got these Axer Chop, these Norkers, right, which are kind of, they're not quite goblins, but I think they're very goblin-esque.
Yes.
You've got a beautiful Minotaur. So the cool thing about this Minotaur is it has human feet. So miniatures of Minotaurs generally have hooved feet. And the comments were probably 70% prefer the hooved feet. Not me. I love that Greek aspect of the human body, including the feet. So for me, I have to have this Minotaur.
So oddly enough, I love that Norker war boss.
Yeah, the goblin on the pig is just so
fun.
Cool. Yeah. The Hyenodon. So I use gnolls a lot, and gnolls always have hyenas. I don't have any miniatures for hyenas. So I'm looking forward to to mine and yours of that. Sorry. Then you've got these Troglodytes.
That's odd they're not marked.
Oh, yeah, they are. That's odd.
That's very odd.
Yeah, very odd. But maybe they don't come with it. Who knows? We'll see when it arrives. We'll do an unboxing video. The giant spider.
Which you can always use.
I always use spiders. And then the monstrous spiders. So those are great, so you can separate them out because there are different types of giant spiders in D&D. So for me as a GM, I'll use those. The giant slug. I've never thrown a giant slug at my players, but I can't wait to. I'm going to make this thing look friggin' nasty.
And you put that next to, like Sir Four Scale.
Yeah.
And it's huge.
It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to put that sucker against some of my players. Or their characters, I should say, not my players.
No, the players.
So here we've got Yeti Gargoyle. I love that gargoyle.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The Battalion, which is not a Mind Flayer, just so you know. But it's a Mind Flayer. I love that one because their current Battalion that they sell alone, I've painted it twice. And it's okay. It definitely is good. But this one is going to be more dynamic in pose and scope and everything.
Yeah.
The other one is a lot more static. So I'm dying to see the actual image of this one. Giant Lizard. So I'll use that. I have in many of my games, I present my player characters the opportunity to, rather than just buy and ride horses, I open the menagerie up. I actually have a player currently whose character is a cleric of Lathander who rides Giant Lizard. That's his mount. So I love things like that. It's going to actually allow me to put his Giant Lizard on the table. Skeletal Hounds. I use those a lot too. Wyvern. I love wyverns. There are two actually in this one.
One flying, one stalking.
Yep. So very cool.
I like the trolls.
These trolls, these are actually on large bases, so it may not look it in the image, but those are just ugly, greasy, grimy, nasty.
Even in just the bones or in the plastic, they look nasty.
Yeah. And then you've got some orcs here. You've got a demi-lich, which is
really cool.
going to be really cool. The Vargoyle, which is like a vampirish villain, and a Flumph. Who has ever seen a miniature for a Flumph? That's just so cool that they thought about. So these are things that going through comments and everything, people were saying, add one of these, add this, add this, add this.
And they made it.
And they do.
Happen.
Yeah, and they do. So it's pretty cool. They listen to the feedback really well. There's your Filth Beast, and then a giant crayfish. Again, I want to say it's a Yugothot. I forget the name of it in D&D, but they hide in garbage, and they've got the two tentacle arms, and the one on the stalk has an eye. And
that's pretty wicked looking.
Yeah, they're pretty nasty looking. This one they put on like spider legs instead of the like elephant trunky legs, so it can skitter around and stuff. I think that's a great aspect. These sculptors, as they're thinking about some of these aspects of how they use it in the game, how they make it different and unique, just again goes to show the creativity on all this stuff that they're creating.
Skills.
Yeah, and skills, amazing skills.
Skills.
So $50, Denizens of the Dungeon expansion. What's your thoughts?
So, there again, we talked early about some of this is really me, some of this is really you. This one is not really me.
Yep.
Good quality. There are a few pieces that I really, really like, but it won't be one that I'll do myself. Yep.
Nope, I believe so too. I'm definitely going to back it or put it in my cart. But I'm only going to do one of them. While I would love to have, 2 or 3 of some of the sculpts that you only get one, like the giant lizard and the Battalion and everything. I'm only going to get one because I know the ones that I really want will hit retail someday. So I'll start with one and use counters if I need multiple aspects.
You did not get the per piece.
No, not yet. And that's because I wanted to look at something. So the Hyenodon, then I'm only going to have one. I'm only going to have one Hyenodon. So this one here, you're looking at $1.56 per miniature.
So there again, there's that great value.
Yeah. Definitely under half. And again, some big sculpts. That Filth Beast and Giant Crayfish are both on large bases. So I think they're 3-inch bases.
That one to me is very much a Game Masters.
Yes, very much.
Expansion.
Lost Tombs of Hakir. $50 to back this. You can see they compressed. This is when they compressed. So part 1 of 3. They moved it from 5 to 3 after there was a lot of comment from people saying they didn't like the 5. They wanted to see it in bigger chunks. So you can see the Anubis and the Towerette, and then that stairs and archway, which is sculpted. The details are on both sides.
And it's different on both sides.
Yeah, different on both sides. Amazing.
Also, if you look, there's Sir 4 scale, just to give that
Reference
that
of
is a
size.
very big piece.
Yeah. You've got the sarcophagus and inner coffin, pillars.
Pillars are really pretty.
Yeah, dune
really
scorpion with sand scorpions, so giant scorpions basically. Those 2 smaller ones on a 1-inch base and the larger one on 2-inch. And then a giant crocodile. So they currently have a giant crocodile, but I don't like the pose of it. This one is so much cooler, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the details, again, it's like they got an opportunity to resculpt something from the past
and make it better.
It's so cool. That crocodile I actually am really a fan of. There is Sobek and Wadjet. There is Amut. So you can see that theme of these Egyptian gods. More terrain pieces, also sculpted on both sides. So you can have, they're not just flat on one side. You can actually set scenes and have interactive aspects all around. Now these Scarab Folk, these are brand new. So these are basically beetle people that are like dwarves almost, they were saying. You can see they're still just renders. They don't have them sculpted yet, but the details of them are really kind of cool.
Looking.
Really different and interesting. So I like adding things like that into my games. So that Scarab Folk Sand Peddler is a merchant on this giant scarab, or this giant rhinoceros beetle almost. I just recently got a merchant on that has a giant turtle. I love things like that to throw in for NPCs. So different, unique, memorable. You can see Bast.
Which is awesome.
Very awesome. Horus Mummies. There is a mummy king and a mummy queen with a cat.
We saw the mummy queen. I know she is only a shadow here, but we saw the work in progress. She is gorgeous.
The immolating effigy, and then some adventurers that are themed for desert. So you've got a sand dwarf desert barbarian with a kohapshi, actually. So they're looking at details of things like actually using a woven back shield and a kohapshi, the were hippo, and the oasis mage. So if you have a character that has a background with like nomad or outlander or something like that, what a miniature to represent your character on the table.
Yeah.
$50 for this expansion. This one ends up at $1.47 a piece. Look how many large ones. So all these ones that are 75 millimeter, those are massive in size.
Yeah, very
the
much so.
terrain pieces are massive. I mean, just huge pieces. $50 at $1.47 a piece.
So this one for me is a little hit or miss. Because I do think this one goes more to a Dungeon Masters type of piece.
Yeah.
Gorgeous sculpts. Definitely. The concepts are great. So I really like it. It just, for my individual style, it's not for me.
So no backer for you.
Nope.
I'm going to get it, and then the terrain pieces I'm going to have Tammy paint and decorate. Options and extras. So that's primarily your Kickstarter main.
Yeah, the
So that's
main
what was
pieces.
covered in the Kickstarter. Now in the Pledge Manager, they may add additional stuff based on if there's any growth, late backers, anything like that. Now all these prices are based on the Kickstarter. So if you do become a late backer, you'll probably see a higher price on the kits.
But from what I understand, it's still significantly below
Yeah,
retail.
definitely so. I think for the core set, you may see it go up to 150.
Right.
And then the expansions you may see go up to 60.
Which,
Now, don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure.
they're again significantly lower than your actual price.
Right. So options and extras. So these are extra things you can do and optional things that are just starting for the Kickstarter. So you can see painter's picks. These are just paints that were picked out by artists, basically. That these are ones that they would use in these Kickstarter aspects a lot.
Right.
So this is how this is selected. What paints are you going to use as they're doing the gallery images, having some of the artists paint some of these sculpts? What paint are you using the most? So that's how that's determined. So MSP options, you can get these already, but for the price, this is more than half off.
Yeah, it's a fantastic price. We have so many paints, that's not for me.
I'm not going to back it. Same exactly. We have so many we've already gotten. Black Mane Knolls. So $14 for these 6 Knolls. Now, I've already said I use Knolls a lot. I'm going to get one.
Yeah, and it's this one there again that's more traditional. And we both know I'm the enabler, not the...
Right. But again, this all new sculpts and a great value. So for me, I only have 2 Knolls in my collection currently, and I generally use 6 Knolls. So this here gets me at 8. Perfect. Men at Arms. So this is another $14 option. You can see basically what this is you get 6 bodies and then enough limbs and heads to create 6 full figures.
Which is a really cool idea. Definitely for somebody that's wanting to build for their characters. Great idea. Again, I'm not in on this one just because it's a little old school D&D.
So I'm on the fence on this one. I'll tell you, I am very much on the fence. So for me, initially I was like, no, it's just not for me. But as I think about it, having consistency in my town guards, if I run urban campaigns, is good. So can I paint these and do more like a speed paint or just a casual paint and have representatives for my town guards? Now, most of the time when I run those encounters, I don't do them tactically. So would this add another element or not? I don't know. I'm 50-50.
I would, and this is just me. So to me, if I were in your shoes, this wouldn't be appealing because of the amount of work to put it together.
Yeah, it's a lot of assembly.
It
You've got
is.
6 figures. You've got to do both arms and head.
Especially if you're going for a town guard type thing where you want the consistency. I think this is more for the kind of person that wants to try to make it unique and different. And to me, it just, the amount of work that you have to put into it is,
A little bit unappealing.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that one I'm at 50-50. So there's another option. Pathfinder Chibi Heroes, $35.
And we already know I'm all in on this. I'm actually probably going to get 2 of these as well. I currently have dang near every chibi that I've ever seen. And I just, such a variety, so many different types of characters from what you typically see. I mean, loving the goblin in there. I'm loving that you can see where it would be really easy to do people of color. They're really built more for a very diverse group. And that just, like I said, I'm kind of definitely all in on these.
I also have to say the aspect. So initially, I was really neutral towards chibis. I was just like, well, that's just not for me. But I can see some people really liking it. But there are actually a couple that, as I think more about chibis, for me, this is an opportunity where, because I use the majority of my miniatures for tabletop gaming, I paint them very bland, I would say.
No, you paint them very realistic.
Yeah, very realistic is my style. And for me, this opens up the door. I've challenged myself in 2022 to be more purposeful with adding more vibrancy and color into my miniatures, making them stand out a little bit more. This is an opportunity for me to do it. I see the one in the center with those like gems around the head.
Yeah,
and I can
that
see
one.
making the eyes like gems as well and give OSL glow effects, just be able to really step out of my comfort zone. So I actually am currently in on this as well.
These ones, and definitely a great price for that many of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
you're
because
looking
they're
at 12, 13.
Yeah, here I've got the price here.
It's
Because
probably-
they're a little bit larger in, I would say, size comparatively.
So their heads are larger, their faces are larger.
For people who are nervous about painting or painting newbies, anything like that, these are a great spot to start.
Or I can tell you from experience at Reaper Con last year, kids love them. If somebody is wanting something that they can paint the regular minis, this is something that I bet a lot of kids would get a huge kick out of.
Yeah, very much so. Oh, so it looks like I don't have the price of those.
Well, I was looking at it. It looks like there are 12 figures plus the familiar. So you're looking a little less than $3 a piece, which is pretty decent.
Yeah, you're looking at $269 a piece. Still a great price. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not even at
Oh,
$299 yet. And your chibis are actually, I believe they start at $499.
Yeah.
Retail
and
currently.
like I said, just the amount of diversity that they worked in there and the options
All right,
are really cool,
the last few we got to rage through because we're over schedule.
which doesn't usually happen.
Yeah, for me that's a rarity. Orcs of the Ragged Wound, $14 for all these orcs. You get 6 orcs for $14.
So I'm not in on it because it's the traditional, but
I'm in on it because it's traditional. And they're all new orcs. I don't have any of these sculpts, so why not? They're
Yep.
different. They're
Yep.
unique. I can make them bigger bad guys by making them more decorative and everything, and have them kind of
I
gum
love the
around.
banner guy.
Yeah, gum around the others. So I'm in.
And here I'm in.
Chibi Goblins, $10 for these 4 adorable Chibi Goblins.
These guys are awesome.
I'm actually in on these as well because I want them for Goblin, like not kings, but Goblin
Yeah.
lieutenants maybe. They're
Yeah.
just awesome. Even though they don't fit in with my regular goblins, I'm going to use them.
I think they'll be fun.
And just absolutely cute. Look at the one with his tongue hanging out and everything.
Yeah.
The one with the evil grin. Just cute. Charinder the Cruel. So this is a dragon. This is a large dragon. That's actually on a 4-inch base. $16 for this massive dragon.
I'm on the fence because I am trying to paint. I want to paint some stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm in on it, but Charinder is going to sit for a while on the shelf because I've got 5 dragons in front of it.
Yeah.
So I'm in on it. I'm in on it, but he's not going to see paint this year. Or, I mean, the year that I receive it.
All right, this is all about me again, and I am definitely in on this one just because it fits in with the feel of what I want to create.
Yeah. So this one here, this is Legendary Tales, Talons of Winterfall, all about owlbear encounter. So the totem is, it actually looks like a totem pole, like it's carved out of wood, so it's got the wood grain and everything. This one I'm actually on the fence. My favorite part of this is actually the dwarf.
I like the dwarf really well, but for me, what I like about this is that it would fit into that Fae type world.
Yeah.
And it gives me bad guys for that.
Yeah. And for me, I've got 2 owlbears already. I don't use them a whole ton in my campaign, so I'm not there yet.
And those are somewhat chibi-esque.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. And the cubs are definitely designed to be cute.
Yeah. So I think you put that in a world with the chibis and the fairies and.
My favorite part is the dwarf and the totem. Those 2. Other than that. Hellborn Hero. So here we go with the tieflings. Not tieflings. So these ones here, $14 for these 6.
Amazing price for that.
Hellborn Heroes, not tieflings.
And they are very, very nice sculpts.
Yeah. So if you play in D&D, they've got something representing each of the classes. You can see cleric, you can see a thief, you can see a bard, you can see a mage or sorcerer, you can see a fighter or paladin, you can see a ranger or sorcerer, something along those lines. And if you play one of those classes and tiefling, hellborn type character, great sculpt. I'm going to get these just for options for me to use for players that I may have in upcoming campaigns.
And this is going to really throw you, but I may get those, but instead of making them actual heroes, I may turn them into the bad guys.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. Here we've got the Blood Club Bugbears. Say that 3 times fast. So $14 option for these 5 bugbears. Now there are 5 because these are much bigger, so they're still on 1-inch bases. But if you look at the shoulder mass and everything, these are actually really big boys. So 5 bugbears for $14. The sculpts actually are really pretty good. Michael Proctor is painting the first casts of these, the test casts, and so I got to see him on his table, and really, really well sculpted. I think all of these were done by Jason Wiebe.
Yep. I think it says at the bottom.
Oh, Bobby Jackson. But yeah, really good sculpts. I'm currently in on it because I use bugbears a lot.
And it's definitely not for me, but it is pretty cool.
And then some new paint colors. So this is $18 for these 12 paint colors.
And I'm actually in on those.
Ah, that's interesting.
It's different colors.
Very different colors. We don't have any of those. Of course, they're all new for the Kickstarter.
I like the boggy green. I like the Requiem red. I like the brutal purple.
So I was 50-50 on this. I'm going to say I'm out if you're in because we share paint quite a bit.
Yep.
All right, 30th Anniversary Dragon. This is what we're getting to.
I'm on the fence.
One of the many. $35 for this dragon. So this dragon is on an oval base that's 9 inches long.
It's so huge.
9 inches long.
And if you think about it, I mean, that is just a massive. I think they measured this and it was close to 12 inches.
16 inches.
Okay.
I think 12 inches tall or 12 inches wide, wingtip to wingtip, and 16 inches tall. It was 9, huge. 12, 16 were the 3 measurements. And yeah, definitely huge. So one of the things that I like about it is the wings are actually, they have like a lot of dragons when they're sculpted, then they just get wings put on their back. This one is actually musculature and everything sculpted into it. So fantastic sculpt. And on the Kickstarter, if you were a backer, you also get these 2 additional minis thrown in, so you can put a rider on it or have that rider be a standalone.
And that picture does do a great job of showing the scale detail.
Yeah, very much so.
I mean,
yeah.
So the reason that I'm so on it is that is a commitment. That is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so I know we don't talk about it a ton, but I think I've done like 5 miniatures so far, and I'm just not ready to commit to that much.
I'm all in. I
knew you would be.
So Egg of the Phoenix. This is an $18 option. You get these 3 big salamanders, so those are on 2-inch bases. You get the thief there actually is not affixed to the flying carpet, so you get a flying carpet that'll probably have a translucent flying base.
So that's not Aladdin.
It's not Aladdin. You get the Flame Drake. You get the Egg of the Phoenix, which is like a scenic piece, and then the Levid with the scimitar. I'm in on that because I use salamanders in games quite a bit.
And I'm probably not because it's more typical game.
Yeah, and for me, I don't have any miniatures for salamanders. I use counters. So I'm in. Wasp Nettle Lizard Folk. So you can see just a $14 option, 6 miniatures, all lizard folk. I only have 3 lizard folk, and one of them is a bigger mini, or it's on a larger base. It's on a 2-inch base because it's got a spear, so I have to account for the reach. I'm in because I use lizard men a lot.
And this is one that I actually don't get it, and I am not a fan.
Gotcha.
That's weird, but
No, it is what it is. It is
so
what
I'm
it is.
definitely out.
Out. I'm in. All right.
All right.
Black Tallow Lighthouse. So in the Kickstarter, all the way back to Bones 4, people started saying we need a lighthouse. And then when Bones 5 hit and they had things like pirate ships, things like that, for some reason it just became memeable.
And it is a thing.
Kickstarter needs a lighthouse. And I was very anti-lighthouse because I picture a New England Cape Cod lighthouse.
And I always thought a lighthouse would be cool regardless.
Yeah. And for me, I don't need it for my games. If it's a
However,
if it's a New England Cape Cod style lighthouse.
What they did here is amazing.
But on one of the Reaper updates, I believe, it was either a Reaper update or a Reaper Live, they were talking about they got an image that someone drew for a lighthouse, and look at this. So to me, this is not just a lighthouse. This is like a blend between a watchtower
Towers, yeah.
and also like the signal piece for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
When
yeah.
Gondor signals, things like that. I am in for 2 of these.
So am I.
So not only do you get the lighthouse, which we're still waiting to see what the sculpt is going to look like. There is a miniature with a lantern and a seagull and this giant walrus.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely in for 2 of those. And I'm sure it's going to be very large.
Yeah, well, so they said the miniature that you're seeing there is a standard 28 millimeter.
I cannot wait to play with this and see how many different ways you'll be able to use it, because the design was really brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic job. Storm Giant Queen. So $15 for this. So I have the Storm Giant King from Bones 5. And when they just even mentioned Storm Giant Queen, I was like, I'm in.
And you know what? This is beautiful. And this will surprise you, but I'm actually in.
Really? Wow, that does surprise me. I thought you were going to say you're out, and I was like, I'm not surprised.
No, I'm actually in. I would really like to do. She's a big mini.
Yeah, very large mini. So if it's near in scale to the Storm Giant King, I think he's like 9 inches, 8 inches. He's
randomly,
big. He's
randomly, big. I actually like your Storm Giant King, and I would have painted one of those. So yeah, I definitely like this. This is going back to last year's Kickstarter with that Roman theme.
The Greek expansion.
Or the Greek expansion. Yeah. And that one was a lot like the Briarwood. It appealed to me so much.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm excited about that one, actually.
Nice. So 2 ins. Legendary Tales, The Goblins of Rot Stump Bog. So $16 option. We'll go through the pieces here. There is a skeleton in armor sitting in this tree stump. Yeah, kind of draped. 2-inch base, if I understood correctly. Very cool element to add for, I almost consider that terrain. Very cool though. They've got Sturge, 2 of them. They've got this, I don't remember if they said this is almost like a rat folk person, like a were-rat with a rat familiar, but I believe it's actually a goblin, if I remember what Bobby was saying. And then you've got the ogre, and then 3 goblins in armor down below, and then a snap lizard. So old AD&D monster. I'm in for that one.
So am I.
Nice.
I need bad guys.
Extra ants. So here's just 1-inch based ants. You can get extras, 6 of them for $8.
And that's
I'm in. I need lots of ants for encounters, so I'm in. Extra town guard.
I hadn't seen that.
So these ones are actually carryover. So these are not exclusive for this Kickstarter or new card for this one. But you can get these town guard for $12.
Which is still, that's $2 each.
Yeah.
That's a really good price.
Half price. So there again, I'm on the fence on this one. These ones, you wouldn't have to do as much assembly, but am I going to use them? I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm really on the fence.
And it's not for me.
Extra mudmen. So same thing that you've got in the core set, just extras of them. I'm not in. I don't use this type of element very often.
Believe it or not, I might actually buy those.
Nice.
They might fit in with my whole little world. I need bad guys.
Yeah. So that'll get you 8 more. I think you only get 4 in the core set.
Well, I'm not getting the core set.
Oh, that's right.
And so this is the opportunity for me to be able to get some of those pieces out of the core set that.
Gotcha. You
really
can always have my
build the
mud
adventure.
Just so you know. Extra wolves, so 1 warg and 6 extra wolves, $12.
I'm on the fence. I might be in on these.
I'm also on the fence because I can always use more minis.
And I love wolves.
Yeah. For me, I'm just thinking encounters. 2 of the wolves that I have now are like zombie wolves, so I can kind of retire those from wolf duty and keep them for zombie wolves and use these in game
and
for
see,
wolves.
thinking for me, so I'm trying to look at some of the stuff from the perspective of I'm building an adventure based on the chibis and the fairies, and this might work.
Yeah.
So.
Extra lancer. So this is the bee person on the bumblebee.
I'm not sure where I'm at on this.
I'm out. They're cool. They're unique. They're different, but
those two they're exactly the same.
Yeah, they're all of these are exactly the same as what's in the core.
And I just, for me, for what I would be doing, I probably wouldn't do this.
Yeah, because you can always use mine out of the core set.
Yeah, there you go.
Extra newts. $12 for, again, these are in the core set, but you get double, basically.
I think this was one of the things that people were asking for.
Yeah, very much so. For me, I was all in. When they showed the fire newts, I was like, that needs to be extras as well because I need more of them.
And see, I won't do these.
So yeah, that's what's in the Kickstarter. Wow, we went way over. But
there was a lot to cover.
Overall, there was a lot to cover. For me personally, my opinion on this review is that I am still so deep into this that I give it my thumbs up and think that it's a fantastic purchase.
I do too, from multiple perspectives. As a enabler, absolutely fantastic. And as somebody that's more to the outside and more into other kinds of crafts, I actually found a lot in there that really suited me.
Yeah.
So definitely very high recommendation.
Nice. So a lot of stuff to cover that we covered. I'm not seeing any questions in chat, so that's good. I am going to go ahead and we'll close out the stream. Of course, make sure you follow us. We don't need just to subscribe, but we are looking to gain our number of followers. If you're watching us live, make sure you get that follow. If you watch us on VOD, also go ahead and follow us if you would. If you like the idea of looking at different content on covering all things from perspective of hobby, RPG hobby, and enabling of that
It's
hobby.
the nerd and his enabler.
Yep. Be sure to also check out all the other socials. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Discord. So Green Oaks Gaming, also Green Oaks RPG AIDS. We are happy to continue providing content, but we definitely appreciate the support to be able to allow us to create content. So make sure you hit those follows whatever platform you are coming across this on, and let us know as you're going through all of the community aspects of RPGs and RPG-esque aids, where your adventures will take you. Have a great weekend.